Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to Dr.Monkey, where we laugh together and cry together, but hopefully take something away to treat each other a little better. Here's some interesting stories. One about OP's mom, who uses OP's locked private diary and only true safe space as her daily reading material. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I hope you'll enjoy it. Story 1. When I was a preteen, my mom gifted me a diary with a tiny lock and keys. I hid the keys, taped them in hidden places, and began using it almost immediately. I was a bookworm and loved reading and writing. I was also quite neglected as a child, so my diary was the only place I could express myself and feel heard. I read my last entries, and that allowed me to reflect on my own thoughts and actions and learn from past situations. It was honestly really great for my mental health. For a time, my mood and mental health improved. Time passed, I couldn't tell you how long, probably a few months. Shortly after I wrote an entry talking about my first wet dream, a few seconds of feet peeking out of bedsheets, my mom got furious at me and confronted me, full on screaming. She sat me in the living room as she towered over me, screaming at my face, asking me if I thought this was normal, that I was having depraved thoughts no child my age should have. For a preteen. Really? It was actually perfectly normal. That I had promised no love before marriage when I was 5 years old, and that this was clearly going against my word, that I was, etc. I tried to defend myself at first in protest, not understanding how she even knew about it, but she took out the unlocked diary as proof of my depravity, and my attempts at defending myself, it was just a dream, just fueled her anger more. I sat there silently crying, answering quietly whatever she wanted me to say to whatever she asked because nothing else would stop her escalation of screaming. I felt betrayed. My locked diary was my one and only safe place in that home. I was careful with what I wrote in my diary after that incident and set a few tests to check if I was still having my locked diary read without my knowledge or consent. I did this by writing about innocuous incidents in a way that would have sounded like it was more than it was, knowing it would prompt questions out of curiosity. Every time, it didn't take more than 2 days for the questions to come. Turns out, she'd hunt for my diary's keys and read it regularly. Needless to say, I stopped using my diary. My only breathing space had been turned against me. I significantly closed off from everyone, and it felt even my diary could betray me. Then, people even less. It was hard not writing. I no longer had an outlet for emotional or psychological relief, but I really couldn't trust anything anymore. After about a week or two without any new entries, my mom asked why I stopped using my diary. If I had dared, I'd have rolled my eyes and asked, "What do you think?" But I knew better than to attract attention to myself and simply said, I lost interest in such a thing. It's time to keep 2 diaries and start making up some seriously weird things, like you are planning to write a Broadway play, so I've been sending money to a theatrical agent from your parents' account. They will lose their darn minds looking for the transactions. Write about kids who don't exist. Make it not worth their while, or just plain boring stuff. Had tacos for lunch. Shrink my socks doing laundry. My neighbor just rang my doorbell to tell me his wife said to stop hammering. I was dumbfounded. I just kind of stared and said, "Excuse me?" And he informed me that we would be unable to make any sort of noise for the next few months because of their baby, to which I laughed in his face and closed the door. And now his wife is screaming at my door and he is messaging me, please just do what his wife says. So, some background. My spouse bought this house in 2011. Both houses are single-family detached homes. Both lots are 1.5 lots, so there's 33 feet roughly between our houses, compared to the 6 feet the rest of the street. Neighbor husband was already in his house. I moved in 8 years ago. Shortly after, saw the neighbor for the first time, and it was someone I've known since I was 4. Went to school all the way through high school together. We were 40. 3 years ago, he met someone, and she had at the time a 2-year-old girl. She said she would stay at his house, and I would constantly find the kid wandering the streets. They would just send her outside with no supervision, no toys, no fenced yard, and expect her to entertain herself. The child was, and still is, nothing but a brat. 2 years ago, she moved in with her daughter. I run a daycare, so my yard is full of fun toys. But we also have 3 other fenced-off areas. One for our pool in the summer, one for our dogs, and one for our hot tub. All have separate fences and self-closing gates, plus my external fence is 6 feet. During 2020, when COVID hit bad, the kids were doing virtual schooling from home. She never actually did it. She would be ringing my doorbell in the middle of the day, asking me to open my yard for her. I would explain that she can't be here when I have daycare kids, and my daughter will come out to play after supper. She went to their backyard, dragged patio furniture to my fence, and climbed in. Who knows how long she was actually in there, but she decided she was done and couldn't get out. The latch for my main gate is at the very top so the babies can't open it while my back is turned. She started screaming. I ran out in a panic, took her home, explained what happened to Mom, and Mom gave me crap for not just allowing her to play. I face a $100,000 fine if she is caught on my property during daycare hours. I explained this. She still snapped and called me an idiot. I left it that. Happened a handful more times. I started sending them daycare invoices. Still kept happening. I finally told them I would have to call the police the next time, which I did. Except this time, Mom and Grandpa were both sitting outside on the stairs and watched her. Also, never bothered to come help her open the gate when she started screaming. Police gave them crap and told them to stop or Mom would be charged with child endangering. I now have proximity sensors at the top of my fence and get a notification if anything goes over my fence. It's gotten better as she's gotten older. Last summer, we set up our above-ground pool. Just ordered a new pump system and heater. Pool was half filled. I had just done up all my planters. I casually glanced at my security cameras and see her by the pool. I head out. The main gate was open as the neighborhood kids were running from yard to yard playing. She took it upon herself to go to the pool and take buckets of soil from my planters and dump them into the pool. $400 of damage to my brand new $1,000 pump heater system that was up in less than 4 hours. I snapped and screamed at her to get on my yard and not to come back. She is not allowed in my yard at all unless me or my spouse is out there. Now to current time. They had a new baby last week, and me hammering in my basement is disturbing them in their house 33 feet away. And they expect me to wait until the fall to finish my project? So I'm currently sitting on my bench outside, enjoying a glass of water with my outdoor speakers playing metal, while I mow the lawn, which is much louder than a little bit of hammering. I'll finish that tonight after dark. Edit. Lots of people are saying to call CPS. I do call the police when I feel it's necessary. We have a major issue and they are busy with that. If I call, because it's nonviolent, they recognize the address, it's at least 24 hours or usually not at all. I've spoken with child protection agents, and this does not fall under their umbrella. It's not neglect. The kid doesn't listen. End of the story. It's not like the parents are telling her to do it. As for those concerned about her wandering the neighborhood, I'm in a smaller city. My kid has been playing by herself in the neighborhood with regular check-ins since she was 4. I have no issues with that. At 2 and 3 when she originally did it, it was ridiculous. As for saying not to let my daughter play with her, I cannot take away my daughter's entire friend group, which is exactly what would happen. We are one of 3 houses in a row with kids. House 1 has 3 kids. House 2, problem house, has 2 kids. House 3, me, has 1 kid. Daughter gets home. My daughter does activities Saturday and Sunday mornings, so same thing. So not allowing my daughter to play with 1 kid also takes 4 others away. People like this need to learn lessons the hard way. She wants to play stupid games, let her win stupid prizes. Spend a couple $100 and get a lawyer to send her a paper saying that they're no longer welcome on the property. And at the time they enter your yard, it's considered trespassing. Put up a couple cameras to monitor and record your private property for evidence. If you don't do anything, the behavior will continue. It's obvious they're abusing your good nature. Story 3. Cast. M. Me. E.M. Entitled Mother. My mother. C. Cop. The park in my town is home to 2 Pokemon Go gyms. I like to walk to the park and back at least once a day to get some distance in and take those 2 gyms. I've done this every day since about December. This time around, there is just the one family at the park. I look over and give a look because I heard a kid screaming. It turns out Daddy was just messing with him after he got off a slide. I walk over to the bench, sit down, and pull out my phone and start endlessly tapping in order to take this gym as quickly as possible. As I was finishing up, I heard hard stomping come in my direction. I look up. There I see the kid's mother, giving me a dirty stare as she comes towards me. M. Is there anything I can do for you, ma'am? E.M. What are you doing at a children's park? You look like you're 17. I was 14 at the time. Since I had a big build, I was often mistaken for being much older than I was. Me. Actually, I'm 14, and I'm just sitting here playing Pokemon Go. I was actually just getting ready to leave. E.M. You weren't playing Pokemon Go. You were taking pictures of my kids for some child molestation scheme. This took me by surprise. I, for one, was not a child molester. Also, I wasn't taking pictures of Jack Squat. Me. No, I wasn't. I was playing Pokemon Go. E.M. Give me your darn phone and your name and number. Me. I don't have to give you anything. E.M. I am an adult with 3 kids, yet only 2 are at the park. You'll do what I say so my honey buns can go back to their peaceful playtime. Me. I don't have to do anything. I'll be going home now. I get up and start walking back to my house. E.M. Sit back down, young man, and give me your phone or I will call the cops. Me, feeling quite irritated but decided to say something stupid. Okay, boomer. E.M. raged and ran back to her kids. I thought that was the end of her. It wasn't. I turned the corner to a separate street and hear loud honking. I turn, thinking it's a friend or something, and I see E.M. sitting in the driver's seat. E.M. Stop your freaking rear right now and give me your phone and name so I can call the police. Me. No, please quit following me. E.M. Fine, I will follow you home then. I kept walking home with E.M. following me. I pulled out my phone and called my mother to warn her of the situation. Me. So yeah, I got this crazy lady following me demanding I give her my phone and won't stop till I get home. Mom. Just go home, honey. I'll deal with it. So I kept walking home. When I got there, I saw Mom standing in the front yard, arms crossed, looking at the car behind me. E.M. getting out of the car. Ma'am, is this your son? Mom. Yes, it is. And you have no right to be following him home like that. Why the heck? My family really like cursing, but I haven't got into it yet. Would you follow my son home, you stupid idiot? More bad stuff was said, but my mother was angry. E.M. Your son took pictures of my kids for a child molestation scheme. Me. I took no pictures. E.M. He also yelled bad things at me. Mom. You deserve it, idiot. You followed my son home illegally, and now you're threatening him. I was dumbfounded. My mom normally doesn't go off on people like this. E.M. just stared. E.M. My children have the right not to be in any pictures, and do not have to be in the park with a teenager playing a video game. Mom. And my son has the right to not get followed home by some dip crap for no reason at all. E.M. And I have the right to call the police when my children's privacy is threatened. Sure enough, 30 seconds later a cop car comes up our street and parks by our driveway. The police officer gets out. We knew him. He is the husband of the substitute teacher that teaches often at my school. Cop. I am here responding to a report of child molestation and harassment. E.M. That kid was taking pictures of my kids for a child molestation scheme. Me. I wasn't taking pictures. E.M. And he hurled foul language at me in front of my children, and now his mom is threatening to shoot me. For the record, my family owned a BB gun and a Nerf gun. Mom. Officer, this lady followed my son home after hurling foul language at him for playing a video game at a park. Cop, referring to Ian. Ma'am, why do you think he was taking pictures of your children? Ian, because he sat on the bench facing my kids at the park by the ship. The ship she was talking about was a ship play structure inside the park. The cop seemed to understand what she was talking about. Cop, and he realized that this is the only bench in the area of the park. Ian, he didn't have to sit there. He could have stayed standing. Cop, ma'am, there's no law mandating a teenager can't sit on the public bench to play a game. Ian, you still need to check his phone and give it to me so I can make sure my sweet children aren't on there. And I should have the phone, too. Mom, why should you have his phone? Cop, ma'am, I can't do so without a warrant. Anyways, from the information here, it seems you are lying to a police officer. Please come with me. The cop led her to his car, and they drove away. A few days later, we got a call asking if we wanted to press charges for harassment. I was busy with school and didn't want to go to court, so I declined. Em apparently was fined for the ordeal, and we haven't heard from her since. Yet more proof that Karens live in a delusional state of mind. First, they concoct an imaginary scenario that they believe will get them what they want. Then when that inevitably fails, they hatch a scheme to try and obtain it by fraudulent means, totally oblivious that their actions are in fact illegal, as they cannot comprehend that they are the subject of the same laws as everyone else, in their own minds, special, and therefore untouchable. Well guys, that's all for today. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'm gonna link it right here. The story's about an entitled grandmother who blocks OP's bike, claims OP almost hit her, demands to know where OP lives so she can sue OP, who was 7, to become her servant. Check this out if you haven't, and I'll see you next time on Dr. Monkey.